This week in U.S. immigration news, we are going to cover U.S. officials processing undocumented Ukrainians, teen drivers taking migrants across the border, Democratic revolt over Biden's border policy, conditional permanent resident interviews, Cubans arriving in record numbers at the southern border, Mexican truck blockade at southern border. Bus of migrants from Texas arrives in Washington, D.C. under Abbott's new plan. Between February 1 and April 6, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol processed 9,926 Ukrainians who lacked the legal documentation needed to enter the country. Some Ukrainians fleeing the Russian invasion have traveled to Mexico seeking refuge in the United States. CBP reported during this period processing 41,074 legal entries of Ukrainians who had permission to enter the U.S., which can include short-term visas. It is unclear how many of the 9,926 undocumented Ukrainians processed by CBP were permitted to enter the country. A small number of unaccompanied Ukrainian children have been reported to be seeking entry at the San Isidro crossing but are being transferred to government shelters. 1 in 4 drivers caught smuggling migrants across the border last year in the Sunland Park Santa Teresa area was a teenager. Most of the drivers are local U.S. citizens. Children as young as 14 have been learning how to use social media to transport Mexican adults across the border. The drivers can earn hundreds of dollars per migrant. Recruiters tell both Mexican and U.S. teens that they are unlikely to face legal consequences if they are caught because they are minors. This job can be dangerous, and federal authorities in New Mexico have been cracking down on juvenile drivers. According to Border Patrol officials, teen drivers commonly flee at high speed when officers attempt to stop them. After the Biden administration announced the end to Title 42, moderate Democrats revolted, joining Republicans in demanding the pandemic health policy be reinstated. 5 Democratic senators joined Republicans in introducing a bill on Thursday that would preserve the policy until 60 days after the Surgeon General announces the end of Title 42. 2 House Democrats who represent border districts in Texas requested the Biden administration to hold off on ending the policy. Moderate Democrats and Republicans argue that the U.S. does not have an adequate plan to deal with the influx in migrants that will arrive at the border once the policy is lifted.
If you are new to our channel, welcome, and please subscribe to stay in the loop. We offer free 15-minute consultations if your case is qualified, so we can point you in the right direction. Stay tuned for the secret code later in the show.
USCIS updated its policy to now adopt a risk-based approach when waiving interviews for conditional permanent residents who have filed a petition to remove the conditions on their permanent resident status. USCIS officers will be given new criteria on when to waive interviews for CPRs who filed a Form I-751. Previously, all CPRs were required to be interviewed if they had CPR status via consular processing. The change to having a risk-based approach will increase efficiencies to improve processing time and make better use of staffing resources. Overall, this will help reduce the caseload while maintaining procedures to protect national security and detect fraud. Cuban migrants are arriving to the U.S.-Mexico border in the highest numbers since the 1980 Mariel boat lift. Over 32,000 Cubans were taken into U.S. custody last month, which is double the number of Cubans that arrived in February. The migrants are flying to Nicaragua, who recently dropped their visa requirement for Cubans last fall. From there, the migrants are traveling on land to either Del Rio, Texas or Yuma, Arizona, where they surrender to U.S. border agents to seek asylum. ICE has only deported 20 Cubans over the past 5 months. Cubans who cross the border illegally face little risk in immediately being deported or expelled under Title 42. CBP records indicate that around 75% of Cubans detained at the border are adults traveling alone. A truck blockade along the Mexican side of the Far Reynosa International Bridge is causing cargo headed to the U.S. to have to take different crossings. The blockade is causing shipping and delivery disruptions for a variety of products. The Mexican truckers are protesting Texas Governor Greg Abbott's new inspection efforts. After imposing the strict inspection policies, within the first 6 days, more than 3,400 commercial vehicles inspected were placed out of service for serious safety violations. Commercial traffic is at a complete standstill at the customs post, where the trucks are increasing the wait time to enter the United States. Many 18-wheelers are being sent to other entry ports in Texas. Governor Greg Abbott made a new plan to transport migrants from Texas to Washington, D.C. as a response to the Biden administration's decision to lift Title 42. The first bus arrived with about 30 people on it. When Title 42 ends in May, federal authorities reported there could be up to 18,000 migrants a day at the southern border per day. Abbott responded to the administration's decision and stated he will be sending the migrants to D.C. where the Biden administration could better deal with them. The program is voluntary for migrants and must be requested by cities and counties, but the state will pay for the buses. Migrants from Colombia, Cuba, Venezuela and Nicaragua agreed to go on the first bus to D.C. from Texas.
Friends, show us some love and smash the like button. It doesn't cost you anything. If you have an immigration problem or need a second opinion because you cannot get a hold of your own lawyer, schedule a meeting with our team. Share information with our CARES team and they will help you get scheduled with our legal team. Now here's a secret code to unlock the free 15 minutes.